Welcome everyone to this morning's service. Those of you with us here in the church and those of you with us online, welcome to you all. You are welcome today, whoever you are, however you're feeling. Whether you're a member of this congregation or a visitor or a regular attender, in whatever way you join us, you're welcome here. This morning is the first Sunday of Advent. Thank you to Christelle for bringing our Advent wreath today and lighting the first candle for us. The French philosopher Simone Weil said, "Waiting patiently in expectation is the foundation of the spiritual life." Advent is about waiting patiently in expectation. But to wait patiently in expectation sounds as though it's about focusing on the future. But I think waiting patiently really means being willing to stay in the present, to be fully present with what is, paying attention while being alert to the signs and the signals within us and around us. And expectation in this context, I think, means faith. It is not the expectation that A or B will necessarily happen, but faith that whatever happens, it will be okay. To wait patiently in expectation, therefore, is to be here now, with mind and heart and eyes open, trusting in life as it unfolds. Let us begin our worship by lighting our chalice candle as a symbol of our free religious faith. And I invite those of you joining us online to light one wherever you are too. I'm going to share some words by Jezebel Anat. Let us come into a calm, clear place where we can relinquish our clutter and relax from busyness into being. Let us settle into that calm, clear place where the earth supports our bodies and the community lifts our spirits, where we can breathe in peace and center ourselves in love. Let us welcome our calm, clear place, where our hearts can open and our thoughts can expand beyond the cobwebs of convention and into the creative flow of infinity. May it be so. Let's sing. Our first hymn this morning is a gathering hymn. It's number 43 in the purple hymn book. Words on the screen as always. Gather the Spirit. And let's join together in prayer. And I'd like to share a prayer with you that was written by Steve Garnis-Holmes, who was a United Reformed minister. Loving one, free me from my self-enclosure to trust I am fully loved and heard, so I can love and hear others. Help me to be fully present, to be aware of myself, my reactions, my wounds and fears and filters, and to mindfully, lightly hold them aside so I can be fully present for others, truly listening, opening a space in me for them to be safe, to be true, to be free. May I be a spacious and welcoming presence to offer people the precious gift of being heard, being seen, being witnessed. And into this silent space, I invite you to bring into your hearts, into your mind's eyes, anyone known to you at the moment who may be suffering in whatever way, including yourself. And just imagine light and love rippling out from your heart to theirs. Blessed be. So the theme of our service today is presence, being present. And I'm going to read you a story which is called Peter and the Golden Thread. It's by Robin Sharma from his book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Peter was a young boy who could never live in the moment. When he was in school, he dreamed of playing outside. When he was outside playing, he dreamed of summer holidays. Peter never took the time to savor the special moments that filled his days. One day he was out walking in a forest near his home, as people often are in stories, I find. Feeling tired, he decided to rest on a patch of grass, and eventually he dozed off. After only a few minutes of deep sleep, he heard someone calling his name. "Peter, Peter," came the voice from above. As he slowly opened his eyes, he was startled to see a striking woman standing above him. She must have been over 100 years old, and her snow-white hair dangled well below her shoulders like a matted blanket of wool. In this woman's wrinkled hand was a magical little ball with a hole in the center, and out of the hole dangled a long golden thread. "Peter," she said, "this is the thread of your life. If you pull the thread just a bit, an hour will pass in seconds. If you pull harder, whole days will pass in minutes. And if you pull with all your might, months, even years will pass by in days. Peter was really excited by this new discovery. "I'd like to have it, if I may," he said. And the elderly woman quickly reached down, gave the ball to him with the magic thread. So next day, Peter was sitting in the classroom, feeling restless and bored, when he remembered his new toy. He pulled a little bit on the golden thread and quickly found himself playing in his garden. Realizing the power of the thread, Peter soon grew tired of being a schoolboy altogether. He longed to be a teenager, out in the world with all the excitement that would bring. So again, he held the ball and he pulled harder this time on the golden thread. And there he was, suddenly a teenager with a lovely girlfriend called Elise. But Peter still wasn't content. Instead, now he dreamed of being an adult. So again, he pulled hard on the thread and many years flew by in an instant, and now he found he was middle-aged. Elise was his wife, and Peter was surrounded by a household of children. But he did notice something else. His once jet black hair had started to turn grey, and his once youthful mother, whom he loved so dearly, had grown old and frail. Yet Peter still couldn't live in the moment. Once again he pulled on the magic thread. Suddenly, I think he pulled a bit too hard. Peter was suddenly a 90-year-old man. His dark hair had turned white as snow, but his young wife Elise had grown old and passed away. His children had left home, and for the first time in his life, Peter realized he'd not taken the time to embrace the wonders of living. He'd never gone fishing with his kids or taken a moonlight stroll with Elise. He'd never planted a garden or read all those wonderful books his mother used to read. He'd hurried through life, never resting to see all that was good along the way. He went back to the forest where he used to walk as a boy to clear his head and lift his spirit. He noticed the little saplings of his childhood had grown into mighty oaks. Once again, he laid down on a patch of grass and fell asleep. I bet you can guess what happens now. After only a minute, he heard a voice calling, "Peter, Peter!" He looked up in astonishment, and there was the same old woman who'd given him the ball with the magic golden thread many years earlier, and she must be at least about 200 years old by now. "Have you enjoyed my gift?" she asked. "Well, at first it was fun," he said, "but now I hate it. My whole life has passed before my eyes without giving me the chance to enjoy it. Sure, there would have been sad times as well as great times, but I haven't had the chance to experience either. I feel empty. I have missed the gift of living." "Well, you're very lucky," said the old woman, "because I will give you one more wish." He said, "Please, can I go back to being a schoolboy and live my life over again?" And he returned to his deep sleep. This time, once again, he heard someone calling his name and opened his eyes. And this time, he was absolutely delighted to see his mother standing over his bedside. She looked young and radiant. He realized his wish had been granted. He had been returned to his former life. "Hurry up, Peter," she said. "You sleep too much. You'll be late for school if you don't get up now." And Peter gladly leapt out of bed and began to live the way he had hoped. A full life, one rich with delights and sadnesses and triumphs. But it only started when he stopped sacrificing the present for the future. End of story. Our second hymn is Find a Stillness. It's hymn number 35 in the Purple Hymn Books. Our second reading is going to be read for us by Sheila, and it's by Kathleen McTeague, who's a Unitarian Universalist. It's called More Than a Cup of Soup, and it comes from a collection of readings called Falling into the Sky.
Not far from where I work, there is a little hole-in-the-wall cafe, a good place to pick up a quick lunch. The woman who works behind the counter always looks glad to be there, doing what she's doing, and she often knows her customers by name. Last week, there were at least half a dozen people waiting in line to be served, but she still lingered with an old man at the counter who already had his soup and bread in a paper bag. She asked after his health, and then asked about his wife. She commiserated with him when he told her about their illnesses. When she said goodbye, she touched his hand lightly, smiled into his face, and told him she'd look for him tomorrow. Watching her at work, it's easy to believe that some small corner of the world's fabric is being patiently, lovingly stitched back together, and that something more gets carried out of the door than a bag of bread and warm soup.
Thank you, Sheila. I don't know about you, but I've quite often found myself in queue. Do you do that thing when you go to a supermarket, you try and work out which is the shortest queue, which one looks like people who are going to go through quickly, and then you find actually, no, you picked the wrong one. And how easy it is to get irritated if people start having a chat and there's a queue. I think, don't you realise I'm in a hurry? And then I think, what am I in a hurry to do? Usually nothing. So, yeah, it's a good story. We're coming now to a time of reflection, and just to lead you into the silence, I'll just invite you to do just a short body scan meditation. So you just want to make yourselves comfortable, and it helps to have your feet on the floor and maybe your hands just in your lap or somewhere comfortable, and just sit so that you're kind of supported, not rather than slumped in your chair. And just begin by focusing your attention on your feet, being aware of them, aware of the contact with the earth. And just let that focus move up to your knees and your thighs. And then you can feel the weight of your body on the chair. And your back, you're aware of your spine. And just focus for a moment on the center of your body, that place where all your vital organs are. It's the place where the air you breathe turns into breath. The air from the outside becomes part of you. And then allow your attention just to move up to your shoulders. Maybe there's some tension there. Down into your arms and your fingers. And then up again to your neck and your head. The top of your body where you're closest to the heavens. A place where feeling becomes thought and thought becomes action. And then just imagine your body at ease. That there's nothing you need to do. Nowhere you need to be right now in this moment except here. And we'll just share some silence together. And we pray, not for new earth or heaven, but to be quiet in heart and in eye clear. What we need is here. Stillness, quietness, clearness of eye. All we need is here. It feels hard to believe that at times, doesn't it? Of course, there are things we have to do just to stay alive and well. And there are things we love to do. But what underlies them all and supports them and grounds them are the things we already have within us. Stillness, quietness, clarity. In other words, presence. Naturally, people have been asking me what I'm going to do when I retire. I want to say nothing. I wrote down here that I haven't quite had the courage yet, although actually Maria asked me this morning and I said nothing. I don't mean literally nothing, obviously. That would be impossible and boring. What I mean is that I don't want to feel I have to fill up the time or justify myself or make it sound like I've got some great plan or some important project or role to fulfill. Because I don't. What I would like is for the things I do to emerge gradually from a place of stillness and quietness. I yearn to have the time to allow that to happen. And I'm curious to see whether I can manage to wait patiently in expectation. I probably have to start with the supermarket queue. Whether I will manage to do that and what I will discover if I allow things to simply unfold. I think it's hard to trust that our mere presence in the universe is valuable in and of itself. That just being here is in itself a gift to the world. And so the temptation perhaps is always to fill any available space with activity and noise, even though some of that, and maybe even most of that, may be covering up our own feelings of inadequacy, shyness, awkwardness, lack of self-esteem, lostness, you name it. Activity can be an attempt to conceal the fear that we in ourselves are just not enough. And of course, it's enjoyable and rewarding and enlivening to have conversations, to laugh, to share stories, to inspire and challenge, and to be inspired and challenged. Friendships and relationships rely on these interactions. But in the end, I believe it is our attention that is the most valuable thing we possess. Our simple presence is the most meaningful, not our attempts to impress or to be clever. The beautiful thing that we can all offer is our attention. We can all learn. It is work in progress, but we can all learn to be present. And remember that what we need is here, right here in our hearts. At this time of year, Advent, there is much to distract us, lots to enjoy, and lots to get stressed about too. Plenty of wonder and magic, as well as poignancy, sadness, loneliness. It's a season that can take us on quite an emotional roller coaster. One of anticipation and disappointment, one of joy and even despair. And sometimes we just have to roll with it, trying not to cling on to each thing too much. This is life after all, and as Peter in our story realised, it's a mix of experience that gives life its richness, and you may well find, I usually do, that this time of year is indeed a rich mix of experiences. But this Advent season is also traditionally a period of fasting, of simplifying, of quietening in preparation for what is to come. So it helps us to have some tools with which to navigate it. When you find yourself spinning on the festive Wurlitzer this year, remember, pause, breathe, light a candle, take a walk, sit in silence, look at the moon, the stars, the sea. Take those moments for yourself of pure presence with what is. and with whatever is swirling around. Just be there. Practice it, those quiet moments. For in each one of them is all you really need. I'd like to share a poem that I came across recently, which speaks to the sense that, I don't know whether you share this, but I think it's quite a common feeling that, did I miss the instructions somewhere for how to live? Was there a time, did somebody say, did I miss it? And this poem is about that. It's called What You Missed That Day You Were Absent from 4th Grade. It's by an American poet called Brad Aaron Modlin, who I'd never heard of. But this is what he imagines he missed the day he was absent from 4th grade. Mrs. Nelson explained how to stand still and listen to the wind, how to find meaning in pumping gas, how peeling potatoes can be a form of prayer. She took questions on how not to feel lost in the dark. After lunch, she distributed worksheets that covered ways to remember your grandfather's voice. Then the class discussed falling asleep without feeling you'd forgotten to do something else, something important, and how to believe the house you wake in is your home. This prompted Mrs. Nelson to draw a chalkboard diagram detailing how to chant the Psalms during cigarette breaks, and how not to squirm for sound when your own thoughts are all you hear. Also, that you have enough. The English lesson was that I am is a complete sentence. And just before the afternoon bell, she made the maths equation look easy. The one that proves that hundreds of questions and feeling cold and all those nights spent looking for whatever it was you lost and one person add up to something. Our final song celebrates some of the things we might do when we allow ourselves to be moved by joy and love, rather than perhaps what we might find ourselves doing out of fear or insecurity, and how doing what we love can be the best thing, not only for us, but also for the world. It's hymn number 133. I think I've got the number right this time. 133 in the Purple Hymn Book. Play trumpet, cello, harp, and flute.
Right was a green
words by the Reverend Scott Taylor. May awareness lead you on your way. May you always be where you are, free from the quicksand of the past, let loose from the imagined fires of the future. And may you always hear the precious present calling you home. Amen.